So what we currently have is we have this Monolith app, right, which is this Connect app. And if I look at it, it has a lot of different pieces in it. It has SignalR, a singleton here for the mapper. That's fine. See, a lot of this stuff is going to persist to the next layer. So our services cache is definitely going to persist, as well as our and then here you can see I start to break into the individual layers. So let's start to strip things out here. So the first thing that I want to do is I think that in this diagram, the one that I'm going to use is MongoDB. Okay. Now SQL would be very easy as well. But I think Mongo might work better, so let's do a MongoDB C# driver and look up what we have available. Okay. When I look at how it handles documents, oh my god, because there we go. Insert one, insert many. When you read, we have a find. Do I have a first? Let's take a look if I have a first. So when I look here in my data access layer, I have one that I've already written for Mongo. And this has a find. Does it have a first? It does not. So it would be based on the timestamp. So the way a Mongo document works is we just kind of put them in there. You can use like an extended string if you want. Just make like JSON and serialize, deserialize if you need it. What we're going to be doing is I might just do an insert one inside two different databases. So if I open up here my compass, which is what we can use for navigating MongoDB. In here, we're going to connect to this one. There it is. So here's AllieChat, and we currently have 36 documents here for server users. We have server stream users with 19 documents and 4 documents with user currencies. So what we're going to do is we're going to implement 2 new databases for this, right? Here, one for incoming and one for outgoing. So let's do this. In my interface here, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to create a new couple of functions here. And the first one is going to be called get next, get message next. And that's only going to return here an iMessage. Now, in here, I believe I have this set up as in my internal. No, let's open up the AllieChat public app. And in here, what I want to do is look at my library structs or interfaces, and I have one here called iMessageBase. And then we also want to have one more. We're going to say this is called asynchronous. And we want to have one more in here with a boolean, and we're going to say that this is a store message asynchronous. And we're going to do this with an iMessage base called message. Okay? Now what that means is that we can implement them here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy these two methods here and use them. And when I look in here, we're going to have a get message next asynchronous. And I'm going to return here an iMessage base. And then the other one here is called a store message, which is just going to be an iMessage base called message. And this will be asynchronous. And that should, and it did, I lost my error here on my interface. This should already be disposable, so I can remove that redundancy. Okay, so in here on my get message next, we're going to get this new collection here called messages. Now, you have two layers on this. So you need to have two layers on this, right? Which means on your interface, this needs to have a get message next incoming, store message incoming, and then we also have a get message next outgoing, and that's going to be a type, right? Just a second. Just a second here. Let me look up one thing here. Yeah, it's of type T. So we're going to have one here called get message next outgoing of type T, which is a type of message base. And then we're going to have a store message outgoing asynchronous of type T, where T is an iMessage base. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because when it's incoming, I'm only going to have everything's going to be pushing into one app. So my processing layer is going to be doing a switch by type. And then when it's outgoing, when these things parse, they're going to be pulling for their individual type, which is why this one is set up to be generic. So up here, on my get message next, we want to do incoming and incoming. Oh, this is outgoing, sorry. And for this one, I want it to return a type T, and I want to say where my T is a type of iMessage base. And then this one is store message outgoing, which is of type T. And we're going to be passing in that type here, where my T is an iMessage base, like that. So when I do my get message next, this one's going to be incoming. And this is going to be called messages incoming. And in here, I want to get the first one where my timestamp is the minimum. So what does it give me in here for that? Find, insert, replace, update. So these documents are based on the ID, which is a GUID, so that's not going to determine sequential order either. It seems like the one that I would have to do would be I'd have to parse all the messages, get the minimum date. But that sounds like that would be a lot of processing. So on my Mongo document, I'm going to, this is in the lib. This should be in the lib internal. It is. Like that. And for this one, we're going to add a new one here called a Mongo document message. We're going to say that this here is a integer now. And to override it, we're going to say it's new. Just like that. Now, when I look here for Mongo C# int automatically generate how to auto increment with the driver, get next sequence value. I don't see where that's being invoked. It doesn't seem like it's doing anything. Which is the one that's got the solution on it? I guess it's this. It's exemplified here. Let's take a look at this one. So we set it here. Then getting the next ordered is done by executing the following statement, find and modify. And we're incrementing it by 1. Okay, so I mean, this looked exactly the same. So we'll go back here to the Mongo document, and what it was telling me to do is to do my get collection here. And then it's telling me I want to do a var result equals my collection dot find and modify. Is this old? 2018, this should be fine. So find and replace. And this should have a type in here called a new find and replace args or something like that. Find and replace options. Okay, let's change this. So instead of going this direction, what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow this version 2 driver down here. So when I look at my Mongo document, we are going to make a new one, and we're going to call this Mongo document message. And on this, I want this to be something called an object ID, which comes from MongoDB Bison. Now, on here, I can add a couple of functions called insert. I don't need to do this. I do. So let's have a new function in here called internal static long called get next sequence value, which will be a sequence name and an IMongo database called database. And in here we want to get this collection here. Which is my database.getCollection. And it says to call this sequence, but sequence is the name of this document. So if I look back at my Mongo, I'm doing this of type Mongo database message. And in here I need to give this collection a name, which is going to be my let's go ahead and give it a string here for my collection name. Like that. And now what I want to do is I want to add a filter here, and we're in this class so I can use builders here of type Mongo document message. And we're going to filter for EQ, which is an equality filter. And we're going to do this for the a.name. You don't have name in here, you only have ID and value. Hold on. So on this, you also need to have a integer here called order, like this. So you want to do this one by your just a second. So this is essentially what you're searching by to find this document. Oh, this is awful. Let's look again here. Because at this point, I almost want to use SQL. Just another second. Here we go. Here's our credentials. Here's get database class. Here's our get collection class. Find as, update, find and modify. So in this case, let's use this object ID here, which is a default. And then what I want to do is I'll look for a MongoDB object ID minimum. It's a timestamp. So it is exactly what I want. Sort and limit to emulate minimum with 68 responses. A lot of people want this. I'm only loading one field, but not the entire document. If I wanted to find the minimum value on that field, here's the test suite. Find as item, query, and set the sort order by your initial value, which is what you want to sort by. Set the limit to 1, set the fields to a init value, single. You get your value, and then it asserts. So we can do this. So then that means I'm going to go ahead and leave my Bison ID, object ID, and I'll add order here and a value. And now in my data access layer, this is going to be a Mongo document message in my collection called Messages Incoming. And what I want to do here is I want to do a var something is my, and it's collection dot find as. Why don't I have this? Is this a really old version of Mongo? I mean, it's not that old. So do we have that new one here now? Find as. I still don't have that. Sort and limit. Okay, so what it's telling me to do is my collection dot find asynchronous. And it wants me to add a new filter definition, right? Which wants a type of my Mongo document message. Oh, crap. Okay, instead, yeah, I get this one. It's just doing a find async with nothing. So find one and delete. Perfect. But that still wants the filter definition. Still looking for it. Just another second. Okay, so can I do a collection dot as queryable and then do a order by so there's nowhere. What about an order by? There we go. So I could do an order by here, the ID, and then I could do a take the first one. So just one of them. Is there a take asynchronous? Take last. Take the first one. Just the one. And then you want to do the first or default asynchronous. Or a to list asynchronous. Just a second. That's a weird error that it's telling me. Hold on. Is there a limit here? Like that. So there is no await on this. So if I look at this again, instead of doing this as queryable, if I did this as a collection dot find one and delete asynchronous, so let me look up here MongoDB C# filter definition example. That was not helpful. Let me look for an example. So there's something called a filter definition builder. Which is of my type Mongo document message. So it doesn't have anything there. So what about as a parameter? It doesn't have anything. So let's await on this. This also wants me to specify this name. So let's look up that example. Nothing there. So here's the builder. So it looks like it wants me to do this from inside of the document itself. There we go. Perfect. Is there a good Mongo database queue implementation for the C#? Because I want it to be first in, first out. C# message queue. MongoDB messaging. I don't think this is related to Mongo. I mean, it looks pretty good. So when you subscribe it here, you make the connection string what's the thing called? I'm not into it. I think we're just going to build it. So we want to do MongoDB auto increment ID C#. This says find and modify. Find and delete. So let's go to this here. And let's just copy it in. And we want to do this as a IMongo collection called collection. Of this Mongo document message. And in this one, we want to get my get next order value. So this one's going to be a I collection here again. Back over here, what I can just do is I can do this as queryable. And do I have a min and a max? I do. I can get my minimum of my value of my order. So we're going to call this min order. And now what I want to do is I want to get this one where my order is equal to my min order, like that. And then we're going to deserialize this into a type of message base, which should not be abstract, and it's not, and that's up on NuGet. And otherwise, we're going to return here a null. Okay, so when we store this one, this is going to be a type. And this is going to be where my T is a type of. Oh no, this is store message incoming. So there. And then we don't need this other thing because it's only ever going to be an insert. So you're going to create this new Mongo document here where your ID is, this is a Mongo document message. So your order here is going to be equal to the next one, and your value is going to be a serialized version of your message. And then you're going to insert that record. So now what I want to do is I want to get my min value here, or my max value is my collection.asQueryable, and I want to get my max order. And then here I want to say my order is max value plus plus. Now, this can fail. So is there a way where I can say MongoDB unique ID int? So let's just say C# setting unique field. The unique index only needs to be created once. After that document inserts that contains a duplicate will fail. Here's an example. So it's here. We're going to do a collection dot ensure index How old is this? 2011. This is old. It says to do something called indexes dot ensure index, create one, and then we create what? A model, which is a keys MongoDB C# indexes dot create one. So you can just do this as a builders of type Mongo document message dot index keys dot ascending by the order. So if you're doing the create one with create index model, what? Create index model. MongoDB C# create. Index model. So it says I'm supposed to do this as a new create index model of my Mongo document message of that. So when you do this for MongoDB create index does it automatically sort it? I'm imagining it automatically sorts it when I do that based on this. So for example, for my get next message incoming, then I could just add this index as ascending and then take the first one. Because it's been ordered. So we can just do that. Now, when I get this here, I can do this as a var message, and then I can do a switch on my message.message type. Like that. And then in here I can return the JSON convert.deserialized object into a message switch. of my record.value. So this one's message, Discord, message, TCP, and message, WebSocket. The thing is, you also want to get this on the type of message that it is. Hold on. No, this is okay. Hey there, sick mofo. How are you doing, man? Welcome. Been a bit. It has been a bit. Look who's alive. You know it, way. So that's the order. Ascending. And down here you want to do descending. And then you want to get your max value is your first or default asynchronous. And here you want to say if my max does not equal to null, then we're going to add this new message to it. Max.order plus plus. And then you also want to do a collection.remove delete one asynchronous. Of your record. So you need to have a new filter definition in here. So like that. Of your Mongo document message. So here we need to see a MongoDB C# filter definition builder example. Because what you really want to do here is the find one and delete asynchronous of your filter. Just a second. So this document is very confusing with what it's explaining here. We can define a BSON document as a filter. So could I just do new BSON filter, BSON document? Yeah, I think we can just do that. So if I can do a if my collection dot any, right? So when we do this, we want to do this as a try catch. We'll have one on top of the other here, like this. Okay. So then we're going to find the first one, and then we're going to deserialize it, and then save it. Okay. And then for this one, when I look at my get, it's ascending, and we're going to get the first one. And then when we store it, we get the max, and then we add it here and insert it. So the problem is your counter is going to count before this completes, right? So we're going to change this document, and we're going to make this a timestamp. And we're just going to set this equal to my datetime.utc now. And so now in here, you can do your ascending timestamp, find and delete it, and then do your thing. Perfect. And otherwise, you're just going to create your new record. And your timestamp and ID should be set. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so for our messages outgoing, this one's going to be called messages outgoing. And this is a Mongo document message. And then what I want to do is set this index. And very similar to this one, we're going to go ahead and get out the first record and delete it. And then here we need to it says that my as can't be used with this, but I can just convert it to T by casting it. Really? Because it's a struct. So this needs to be of a type message base. But it's a struct. And this one also needs to be inheriting from iMessage base. So you can do it this way and just get rid of the generic. And then for this one, when you store it, we'll do that. And we're going to serialize it. And we're going to add this new Mongo document here. Like that. And this is a Mongo document message. Like that. And I think that's it. Now it says in here my interface is wrong, which is right, because this needs to be iMessage base. And same here with this one, because these are structs. Like that. Okay, and then we can get rid of our unneeded namespaces and we can rebuild it. So now that our Mongo service is working, we can start to separate this.